In this video, we strive to remain spoiler-free, discussing only story and plot elements from the books relevant to what has occurred already on the show. When necessary, a spoiler warning with a countdown will be given.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca.
I'm Max.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation. We're the YouTube show that reviews adaptations from one form to another. This week, we finish out season 1 of The Witcher from Netflix. The episode is called Much More, based on the short story by Andrzej Sapkowski titled Something More, found in the Sword of Destiny book. What did everybody think of this one?
Pretty good episode. Like for the season, it's definitely a solid episode. The short story has a lot of really, really good stuff in it. Didn't all make it into the show. So no. So I do miss some of that, but on the whole, still very solid episode.
Above average, and I like the ending, just like in the book. I like the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just how it all tied together.
I'm kind of split on this one, to be honest. Mm-hmm. There's the stuff that they dropped really, I think, is a detriment to the episode, because some of the best stuff from the short story is the stuff they dropped.
Yeah, I'm mixed too, because I think some of the stuff they dropped, fine, no problem. Other things that they dropped, I do miss. I felt like, it did make a difference. So,
but there was a lot of meat to this short story.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And so many, really a lot of themes to be talked about with this short story, True. Most of which are ignored by the show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I understand that's going to happen. You're going to lose some, but it kind of hurts seeing it lost.
Yeah, so changes, things we like, things we didn't like. Max, you want to go first? Tell us something that a change you liked.
Well, I don't know if I really liked it, but I did. Obviously, a lot of the fever dream stuff wasn't quite the same, but they kind of sped it along. Okay. They didn't make it such a hard read, so to speak.
Okay, right? Because the whole story is fever dream, or
right.
Most of it is, and that's only a small part of the episode. So certainly, in that sense, I think. I agree that you couldn't have had a whole episode of fever dream the way you could have it with the whole short story. So I think that was right.
Well, especially since a lot of those fever dream scenes happened in prior episodes.
Right. Well, and you didn't need those, of course, because they happened in previous episodes.
Yep.
True.
And you if you could do it if you didn't have two other main characters you had to cover storyline for.
Fair. Right.
Now, if they had gone to a Geralt-centric episode and ignored the women folk for one episode, they could have done the story much more credit, I think.
Yeah.
Because they would have had time. I'll talk about it when we get to stuff I don't like.
Okay. Do you have something that you like that you want to talk about instead?
I had to stretch here when it comes to changes I like.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Yurga's servants and moving the fight off the bridge to in the middle of the forest at night, which is at night in the middle of the forest, other than your lighting, that's the cheapest you can get for filming a set. There's forest everywhere, unless you live in New York City. And well, no, you got Central Park. So, but you just have to drive somewhere, and that's pretty much it. A lot of state lands, national lands you can go to and be on there free. So you're not having to, that's cheap. I understand that. I like that change. It's two extras or two actors you don't have, one-liner actors you don't have to hire, So yeah, and it doesn't give any potholes either. This one change. So I'll get that out of the way too.
Along that line, I'll just add, this wasn't a choice of mine, but it made me realize, when they bring Vicenna in, she's also just in that, in the woods, right? She's not in another location like she is in the.
It was a tar maker's camp So it was in the
Yeah.
woods in the book, the short story.
Yeah, you just get like a different, it's not like just, I don't know. It feels like if they had tried to make it look like it was in the story, it would have been like a different setting, which they didn't need to do.
Yeah.
At least in so it did save that, but
Yeah, so like I said, I had to stretch on what changes I like. This is an episode that, Glenn Buey is kind of sticking his head out,
okay.
not happy with some of the changes. So
Yeah. For me, I would say I liked this change, but there was maybe more of it than there needed to be. Choosing to show Yennefer's part of the story, the battle at Sodden. I mean, that made up the bulk of the episode, and I do think there was some really good stuff in it, and I'm glad that we got that. But
it gave us that fantastic dress she's wearing. That dress just amazes me. I can't, and it's not the revealing part. It's ropes.
it
It's
is an
made out of
interesting dress.
ropes.
Yeah, it's pretty
And I'm
memorable.
just like,
Yeah,
that. Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great.
But
Some
no,
great
there's
costuming in this episode all around.
that's true. Anyway, there's some scenes in there that I really like. I think it maybe, ended up being the main plot in the episode, and so then you do lose more of Geralt's part as a result of that, which is, I think, somewhat to its detriment. So it's like it's a good change, but on the other hand, we missed out on some stuff. But that gets into things that I maybe didn't like. So
I was happy with everything at Sodden Hill. I mean, I
yeah,
guess
it's
that's a
all good
change,
stuff.
including it. All the stuff at Sodden Hill. Getting
Yeah.
to Sodden Hill, I have
Yeah.
a problem with.
Okay.
They're sorcerers.
Mhm.
Portal in. I mean,
Yeah,
Yennefer, the first thing in magic Yennefer did instinctively was open a portal.
Right. No, you're right.
Why are
Because
they
it
running?
also takes time that, like, I know they're just trying to like explain the purpose of what they're doing
Yeah,
there and stuff. So it's exposition-y, but
That's all it was
yeah,
exposition.
yeah.
Because they could have been there like that and then rested for a couple of days, recuperated their chaos, and kicked some ass when the
Mhm.
Nilfgaardians showed up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Max, a change that you didn't like.
So Glenn might be able to answer this better, but I almost want to say that the aftermath of Sodden Hill is maybe not book accurate,
No.
and that aftermath of like what happens to Yennefer, which I don't remember if it's explained in this or not yet. I think it's explained at the beginning of the next season.
Right.
I don't know if I like that ramification of those changes
Mhm.
for Yennefer's character.
Okay.
And like I said, that's kind of a spoiler for season 2, episode 1.
Yeah,
What
I
happens
just
to Yennefer.
recently watched that too. I couldn't
Yep.
help it.
And because it's like because of Sodden Hill that happened, I feel like it kind of rolls into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we saw Yennefer's use of that fire to destroy the Nilfgaards.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know if we don't really know what really happened at Sodden Hill in the books, really.
No.
No.
So it's like
Not really.
we heard
Well,
that she's
we
like a
do know
hero,
one
but she was a
thing, and we
survivor.
did see it happen. We do know one thing that
Chris.
happened at Sodden Hill is getting burned. We know,
Yep.
but that's a spoiler in the books, but been shown on the show. So
And I was happy to see them show that in the show. Like that was one thing I did like is that
I mean,
we
I didn't
saw
like
how it
seeing
happened.
Triss get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want Triss to get hurt. She's too sweet. She's a nice girl.
I want to say that's what I didn't really like was the after effects of Sodden and Yennefer.
Okay.
Other than that, I can't really think of much else. I didn't really mind the lack of fever dream and going back and forth and past and present and future and past and
Yeah, but you weren't
Yeah.
happy with the fever dream in the short story, were you?
even. Yep, correct.
Yeah.
So-
So yeah, I
Right,
can
so, yeah, I
understand why you
understand,
wouldn't like it on the show either. That's part of what I loved about this short story was the fever dreams, and especially the way he would leave a line from one into being the theme of the next fever dream.
Mm.
Like when he's seeing Calanthe says, "I heard that death, dogs your footsteps." The next fever dream is him up on Sodden Hill, and meeting death, which I think is, I just really wanted that. That would have been so great to see on the show, I think. I don't know.
I'm so mixed on that particular part of it, because while that was certainly an interesting part of his dream, it was also, I don't know, it was a little confusing. Like, like he thinks he sees, these names, and then he doesn't see the names, and it's just it was interesting, and it raised some intriguing questions. I guess it depends on, because I haven't finished reading the books, like where things are going with that. Like if that is leading to something, like maybe that is an important thing to keep in. I honestly don't know, but from an initial read of it, it's a little confusing. So if it isn't going somewhere, I can see why they might have taken it out. But if it is going somewhere, then yeah, that was a big mistake to take that out. So I don't know.
Maybe I've read this one in particular way too many times. I think I've read this short story more than any of the other short stories. Or read and or listened to it, sometimes doing both at the same time at 1.6 speed. So I could but I did that this afternoon. Changes I didn't like.
Yeah, what were the parts that you missed the most, or whatever?
Well, let me pull up this 10-page document.
Oh God.
I didn't like losing the Beltane celebration
Yeah,
and the reunion with Geralt and Yennefer.
Mhm.
This would have been the appropriate place for the orgy, not when they first meet, because that's essentially what was going on all around them. It was Beltane.
And that would have had a purpose, as opposed to the lack of purpose.
Right, and they still could have gotten that. They still could have gotten all their naked bodies in there to make the executives happy.
Okay. Yeah,
it would have made sense here. Because that scene, it's another scene that showcases destiny.
Yeah.
That they keep coming back to each other.
You really miss that whole aspect of their relationship in the show, that they come together, they stay together for a while, they part, they can't really completely stay away from each other, but they can't stay together. That back and forth, that push and pull that they have over the course of years, like you don't get that in the show.
Yeah.
So
I would have is lacking from this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like that aspect of the theme of destiny and needing something more, that showed up in that part of the story where they come together at Beltane. And since you don't have that, you're missing that piece of it, really, almost completely. So yeah, I do miss that part of it.
This short story also, I think, puts across some of Sapkowski's opinion on body autonomy, which can refer to a whole range of things, including some hot button political issues. But he flat out makes it clear that his mother had a choice when he's talking to Clancy in the book,
right?
And they leave that out, so they left out that.
There would have been
Yennefer,
last episode to include that, though, because that's when he's talking to Calanthe, or he could, I guess they could have included it in the conversation with his mother, but that was just such a brief scene. They really.
There's also. I was saying, I recall in the show that he didn't say anything about choice, but she did say that she gave you up, kind of thing, like she threw you away.
They did,
like, they kind of preserved that a little bit, but not quite the same.
Yeah. The body autonomy stuff's also shown in, how nasty Yennefer can still be with her willingness to just mesmerize somebody and make them go do what she wants, do a Jedi mind trick on somebody. She's already done it to Geralt. And in this short story, she says that after letting the blonde boy go when they first meet up at the Beltane celebration, she says, "I'll just enchant another one if the fancy, strikes me."
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So good they didn't put that in there. Let's leave that out.
I actually like seeing her dark side. I think we should see her dark side because she's got quite a bit
I mean, I think
He's
we see some of her dark side. I don't think we don't get that she has a dark side, but there's limits too, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of over the limit, really.
Like I said earlier, I was upset they got rid of the Mountain of the 14 and the whole story behind the 14, but I understand they have to cut something, and so the scene with death goes, but there goes, several, more themes that, death
Ooh,
and mortality are in there on the side and hill stuff, and with Dandelion when he meets,
yeah,
everybody's terrified of the Nilfgaard, and that just reinforces the Nilfgaard's nastiness, how bad they are.
that came across. I mean, I think we get that in
Yeah,
this episode.
I just like to see it driven home because they're sons of bitches.
Yeah,
Um,
I think as we see what they do in this battle, like I got it. I'm good. I get, that part I didn't miss so much, but
Geralt never looking back when death's following him,
mm,
and his fear of death, despite being probably the most brave character I've seen in a long time in fiction. There's just a lot of it that was lost.
yeah.
You know, other than Destiny, pretty much all the other themes that he talked about, or he wrote about or addressed in one way or another, went by the wayside, and it just, I don't know. I think it weakened the episode. I think they should
Mhm.
have split. I think they should have split the Silent Hill and Ciri story to one episode and Geralt to another. Do a
Mm.
9-episode season, or cut out some of the BS that they've added in, and they're gonna have to do. I would say do that a lot with season 2. But
Yeah, I mean, I think they even, if they'd cut out some of the Sodden Hill stuff and shorten that up, and just put in a little bit more of, so you lose some of the Yennefer stuff there, but like if you put back in, as Geralt is in his fever dream, a recollection of the last time he saw Yennefer, then you'd get more of her there, or maybe you can tie that into her remembering it too. I don't know. But I do think getting in some of that Beltane scene is probably the most important thing, that they. I mean, to me, the death
yeah,
scene again. I don't know. Like, I can't say. Like, I get why they cut that out, but if it is really important later on, then maybe they'll need to bring it in later. I don't know. I mean, that is something that could
maybe, I don't
be
know.
brought in a different way at another time. So
It's just another example of them ignoring religion in the show outside of the White Flame the Nilfgaardians revere their
yeah,
emperor as.
yeah.
Every other religion has been ignored. Well, I mean, I'm not counting Druidism, but because we did have Mousak, but he's been the only Druid we've seen.
I don't
Except
really
like,
think there's much of an understanding of what that means, like in the show. Like,
yeah,
they
Yeah.
don't.
so people don't
I don't.
realize that that's kind of a religion on its own.
Yeah.
But none of the other religions have been mentioned or even referenced, including death would have been referencing in some way religious,
Yeah.
ideas.
Well, like I said, maybe they'll bring it in some other way later on. I mean, I'm curious to see if they do, but I
I
don't think
just,
I missed it that much in this episode. But um, so for me, I think a lot of what was missing a bit is, even though that theme of destiny is still there, I don't think this episode, despite being called Much More, and playing on the title of the short story, Something More, I don't think that part of the theme from the short story really came through, which is the most important thing, which is that Geralt's belief that just destiny is not enough, that you need something more. And that comes up again and again and again in all the different parts of the story. And it just didn't really, because you didn't have him saying that to Yennefer. That wasn't part of, or as much of a part of, when he meets Vicenna. And then when it comes to Ciri, I think the thing that well, he didn't say that at the end, right? Like, when, we don't have a line of her asking him, am I your destiny? And him saying, you're much more. He didn't
right.
say it. And then the other part of it that I think, for me, made it a little bit lacking too, was I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the farmer guy with the cart, the merchant, Yurga.
Yurga.
He does the thing where he's like, yeah, I'm offering you the law of surprise, but then Geralt's just like, no, just give me an ale. And then like when they get to his house, it's not brought up again. Like he just says, get this guy an ale. So I mean, essentially, it makes it look like, okay, the law of surprise is mentioned, but he's
I
not
didn't
really
catch that line.
But he's not really. They don't hold to it, right? In the story, he's like, no, like I'm really giving you the law of surprise, and like and Geralt had asked for it in the first place. Like it's a much bigger deal in the story. So you end up with Ciri being Geralt's child surprise twice. It's really driving home that they really are linked. Like there is no getting away from that link between the two of them. So I don't really think that you got that here. It was just downplayed. It was sort of barely mentioned or downplayed so much that like, I don't think if you had just watched it, you'd be like, oh, she's his law of surprise twice. Like, I don't know. You'd have to really be.
The other thing I don't like that they did with Ciri is I wish she had been on that farm for longer. Because when Geralt found her in the short story, she'd been it. But see, that's what's built her up as a strong, physically capable young woman instead of being the delicate little princess she always was. Because part of it was her time on this farm. Because Geralt refers to that in a later book, not going to say which one, but makes a point that this girl survived this, and this, all by herself. And you think this is going to be a problem? No. And that's not there to put on the list. Things she was gone through. She spent what, one night there? Okay. She didn't do any farm work. She's probably still never seen a hoe or a shovel. I mean, when would a princess have a chance to see a hoe or a shovel?
She wouldn't.
It's just not something that's going to come in front of them. So, yeah. That was what I didn't like and what you guys didn't like. Anything else?
No, that was it for me, really.
Any other potholes that might arise from any of this?
Yeah, and hard for me to say on some of them. I'm not sure, but I like I said, I am. It'll be interesting to see like if Geralt and Yennefer. I'm behind, so like I don't know everything that happens in season 2, but like I can see that there might be differences, maybe not plot holes, but certainly differences in if Geralt and Yennefer come back together, how that's going to play out. But
I'll tell you, season 2 covers part of the beginning of Time of Contempt. You've already read Blood of Elves, right?
I have, and I'm like halfway through Time of Contempt.
Okay. I'm liking these two more the second time around than I did the first time. I found Time of Contempt and Blood of Elves to be like a step down after listening to the audiobooks, even down from Season of Storms. But this time through, I'm enjoying them a lot more and picking up on stuff I missed.
I like Blood of Elves. I mean, like again, I'm only halfway through Time of Contempt, but I don't know. I'll reserve judgment. I need to finish it.
Yeah, as far as Blood and Elves go, I like the structure better than short stories. So
yeah, I typically don't like short stories. I'm a long novel series where the books are 600 to 1,000 pages long. Like The Wheel of Time.
Never heard of it.
Have you read that?
Everything but Sort of Truth.
They came out in the 80s, right?
Sort of Truth.
Yeah. No, actually, I started reading it in the 70s.
I heard that.
That was the joke on Twitter the other day.
Oh, it's 70s now?
Yeah. And then somebody took it back to the 19th century.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that at least explains the religious fanatics out there for it. So.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
But my tendency is towards longer books, not little short stories. I mean, I like a story to continue, and see that's what's. I don't even look at these short stories as short stories. I think of them as chapters in a compilation book, you know, like journal entries, you know, of people's careers, and they worked for me as a pseudo novel, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't. It feels kind of like a novel. Like it's not radically different than a novel. But
I'm kind of reminded of so I want to say like the Dresden novels had like a short stories between the novels
oh,
to kind of like fill in some of the he referenced these things of like, oh, I did this last summer.
hmm
Because like every one takes place, say, like after January or something, like every year. Or sometimes they'll be like in the summer, but like he'll reference something else. And for a short story, these are too connected, but too unconnected to do that kind of thing. Where you can have them like between books or like between episodes.
hmm yeah.
I still regret losing the voice of reason. All those little
Oh, right. Yeah.
little episodes, mini episodes.
Yeah, that one was kind of interesting.
That was the framing story for The Last Wish.
Yeah.
Is, you know, basically you're seeing him there, and then he's like, you could almost look at that book as a collection of short stories, each short story being a flashback, not a fever dream, but a mental
Could be.
flashback to the
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
to something. It's one way you could look at that book.
Yeah, it's true. All
There
right,
was
so
a scene.
oh, go ahead.
There was a scene. I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
you mean you're jumping ahead in
To
our
number two, the
discussion?
scenes.
Oh
most
yeah,
remembered.
okay, yeah. I was gonna do that too. So go for it. What was your
Sorry.
favorite scene?
Scene that I most remembered from the first time I watched the show 2 years ago. And it's
Mhm.
actually the most memorable image I have from the entire season. Ciri running through the woods to Geralt.
Mm,
It stuck in my head ever since the first time I saw the show.
yeah,
The other
it's a
shot,
contender.
almost as much, is Yennefer doing the fire from her hands,
Mhm.
and it's just like that was just wow. That was impressive. That was some serious impressive stuff. And I like Vilgefort's fight with Cahir, with the
Okay.
Nilfgaardian general, officer. Ah, shoot, I didn't line with that. I enjoyed the fight. It was a neat style that Vilgefortz was trying to fight with. It didn't work for him. He wasn't strong enough and fast enough to keep up with Cahir. So, yeah, and then everything at Sodden Hill, as I said, everything else, but especially that fire that she just unleashes. That's just
Yeah.
Smog. Go sit down.
Sit down. Yennefer's in town.
Right. That was just amazing.
Yeah, no, those were definitely the fire and like the last scene. I mean, I feel like that last scene in the episode because I just felt like I'd literally been waiting for that the entire season. Like when I first watched this, I
Right.
didn't know when they were going to meet up, and I was like, in every single episode, I was like, okay, is it going to happen now? It's going to happen now, and eventually, I was like, no, it's not going to happen until the end of the season, is it? But I just kept waiting for it.
I still wonder how she knows that's Geralt. She was never given a description of him.
Who else is he going to be? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know
I'm
she
why
was
she
never
turned
given a
around.
description.
And why
We-
she turned around. She was walking away, running away, and then she had to have turned around and coming back to see Geralt.
But couldn't he have been like in her dream or something? Because like the first thing she says to him is, "Who is Yennefer?" Like,
Yeah,
so
'cause
she got something from like a dream or a vision or
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
the-
so
the-
why?
right before she woke up, there was that scene of Geralt and Tissaia at the battlefield at night after
Mhm.
Sodden was done, both
Yeah.
yelling for Yennefer.
Yeah,
That was her having a vision in her dream
yeah,
of
yeah.
something that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. But I mean, I'm just saying, if she's having visions that involve Geralt, then there you go.
Oh, they did show Geralt in that. So maybe that, yeah, good point. See, that's why you're on the show, because you're smart.
Occasionally.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene too, them meeting up finally. That was my
Yeah.
favorite scene of that book,
Yeah.
and that matched up, I thought, pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I missed a little bit in that scene. Like, you know, I wish there had been just like a little bit more of the dialogue from the story in that scene. But it was a good scene. You know, been waiting for that, and it finally happens. I think like the scene, or what was most memorable to me, there's like sort of like a pair of scenes around the Sodden plot. Like, so prior to the battle, Yennefer and Tissaia are talking, and Tissaia is asking Yennefer, like, are you ready to die? And she's talking about, you know, she says she is, and but that she doesn't have a legacy. And then, you know, in the battle, Tissaia is telling her, like, this can be your legacy, like, go unleash all your chaos. So I kind of feel like those two scenes are paired, and for whatever reason, like every time the two of them are like in a scene together, I just like really like it. And
Really good
it's
together.
just, it's always something really interesting. And I just felt like that part of it, like that part of the whole episode was well executed. The idea of Yennefer looking for a legacy, and because especially the first part of the scene where she's saying I don't have a legacy, it really sets up the parts later in the episode where like Fringilla can try to appeal to her, saying, hey, you know, like you could join Nilfgaard, like you can
Yeah.
you can be completely unleashed, and you, that can be your legacy. And so, and again, you know, Tissaia coming and saying to her, this can be your legacy, just unleash all your chaos. So I just think that whole aspect of the episode was well executed.
Legacy is one of the other themes that they actually did include because of the episode, the scenes they chose. But
yeah. Did anyone have a least favorite scene, something that stuck out to you?
I already kind of got in on it. Was the walking and the boat riding that the sorcerers did.
Okay.
And just
yeah, yeah, that's a pretty good call. Yeah.
And then I wouldn't say it's a scene that I dislike. It's an action the director had a day player do in the scene that bugs me.
Okay.
That old lady was stringing the bows the night before the battle, middle of the night. You don't leave bows strung. You wait until the fight is about to commence. When it's a battle like this, before stringing your bows, because it's not good for the string and it's not good for the bow itself. It weakens both.
Okay.
And so seeing her do that, I'm just like, please don't do that. By the way, Sabrina looked very Brigida-like when she had the bow and arrow with that long blonde braid got down her back. And
Yeah,
you know, I'm just like, I saw that. Other than being in a dress, I like,
yeah,
it's like Brigida. But
Max, did you have a least favorite?
Not offhand.
No. Only other thing I'll throw out there, because I think, you know, that was a good pick, but I just think like some of the scenes with Ciri in the farmhouse felt a little bit like filler, like they didn't have to be there. Not the scene where she's talking to like the mom who wants to like take her in. Like I think that was a good scene, but like I don't know, like
even after stealing her horse and killing it.
I know, right? Yeah. But I mean, like the scene where she's talking to like the son in the barn. I don't know. There's just some stuff in there that was like a little bit like filler. So
yeah,
I
we
don't
didn't
think
need it.
No. Yeah. So could have done without
We
that.
didn't even need her being told, you know, the last scene with her and the lady before she goes to sleep. We could have just picked right back up with her after she left and seen her get there. And then the next scene with her is her having that dream and then waking up from the dream.
So I'll argue for the scene with the mother. What that does, I think, is show that Ciri is willing to give up what could be like a comfortable life with someone who would care for her. She's not gonna be tempted by that at all, right? She's gonna leave the first opportunity she gets. So I think we were done with the first three. Sorry. And we could pick up with any actor shout outs if we want to.
Okay. There are a couple actors I'd like to mention. Francis McGee, who played Yerga. Those who watched Game of Thrones might remember him from season 2. He
Oh, I
was
totally don't.
Yoren. He was
Oh.
Yoren, the Black Watch guy, the Night's Watch
I didn't
guy that was
recognize him.
transporting everybody to the wall. He's got a
Okay,
pretty
okay.
extensive CV. If you look at his IMDb or Wikipedia filmography, it's impressive. He's been a guest star on a lot of big hit shows, a lot of genre stuff in there too.
Okay, I think that's a good shout out because like he totally, even now that I know that, I'm like, he doesn't seem like the same person. So that's always like a good thing for an actor to just be able to like completely seem like someone else. You know, it's a good character actor right there.
You know, I was going to mention his character in The Witcher.
Yeah.
So at scenes I saw him, I was like, is he a dwarf?
Yeah.
'Cause he was so much shorter than Geralt.
And you couldn't tell with the shot.
Yeah, and then when you see him with his wife, like, yeah, he's clearly human.
And I didn't even think that. Interesting.
I also want to give a shout out to Mayana Buring, plays Desea de Vries.
Yeah.
She's just like you
really
point out,
good.
every time she's with Anya, it's just it's incredible. Some incredible scenes with them. And
like her.
also I absolutely adore Anna Schaefer as that angel, Triss Marigold. Trish she's so sweet. She's one of my favorite characters.
She is, you gotta like her. Yeah. Those were all good shout outs. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think those are all excellent picks. Anything to add, Max?
Really?
I didn't have any bad.
Sword Wizard did good, you know, martial arts, sorta.
Mm-hmm.
Though I'm sure someone will nitpick the backward sword thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one person who's allowed to use a reverse grip on their bladed weapon, and that's Ahsoka Tano.
Okay.
Not Duncan?
No. Nobody. I don't like reverse grip.
I have no opinions on swords, so okay.
I don't have any negative shout outs on actors. Not really.
I don't have anything bad. The only thing I'll say is like, and this might be not even on the actors, it might be somewhat on the writing. I don't know. It might be it's a mix. Like I kind of wish like Fringilla and Cahir like I just cared about them more or like had a better sense of them.
Really?
They're just kind of, I don't know. Like I feel like if anything in this episode, they should have been like there because they had more to do and like there was just more going on. But like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really because I'm only saying that because like Nilfgaard was like clearly like the big antagonist in this episode, and it's the end of the season. And I mean, they seem bad, like they're doing things that like, you know, they're doing a war of aggression and they're scorched earth and they're doing bad things. But I mean, I get that like Fringilla seems kind of like a bit pissed about things at Aretuza kind of like Yennefer a little bit, but I still don't like entirely get her.
And the irony is, she was never in the book. She was never at Aretuza.
Oh, okay.
She just got introduced where I'm at later on in the later books. Okay. She's introduced for the first time, and she's straight up always been Nilfgaard from Nilfgaard.
Okay. So interesting.
That's a change I didn't realize until yesterday.
Yeah, so I don't entirely get her, and I get Cahir even less. So I'm just like, I don't, and so I don't necessarily want to say that that's like the actor's fault because that's like writing too. So it's both.
I like the actor for the role. I can't remember his name, but I do like the actor. He's
He's
working in my
fine.
head.
He's
He's
fine.
working in my head as Kay here. I
Okay.
just don't like what they've done with Kay here this season.
Yeah.
I think it's a bunch of character assassination, personally. But
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't
But-
have like an attachment to him one way or the other. I just like don't think I really.
I came to enjoy. I wouldn't put him as my top character, but I came to really enjoy him in the books.
Okay. Well, I have not obviously read as far as you, so we will wait and see. But I'm just, I don't know. Like they're not the strongest villains. Let's just say,
I
in
agree
my opinion.
with that. I agree with that.
You know, speaking on writing, part of me is like, I don't understand how Yennefer likes Josiah after everything. Like it's
odd.
almost Stockholm.
It's a bit odd. Yeah, they have a very odd relationship. I don't entirely understand it either. Like, because like Yennefer has a like she kind of hates her, but also like she's sort of like the only person that like I don't know, that she seems like she kind of like they get each other in some way too. It's weird.
We'll
But
see.
interesting. I like it. Like I don't know. It's like it's weird.
Yen
It doesn't
says,
entirely make
"You
sense, but I
saved
like
me."
it.
Yen literally says, "You saved me."
Yeah.
And yeah, Josiah saved Yennefer from living a life as a hunchback in a peasant village, in a farming village on a farm with a stepfather who wants nothing to
It
do with
was
her,
horrible
with
to
no
her.
marriage prospects. Yeah, she saved her. Yennefer owes everything to Josiah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get why even though she hates, it's like people who fight with their parents or loved one.
Yeah.
They love them, but
Yeah.
then they still hate them. Maybe
There's
not
a
like deep down hate, but they'll say I hate you because they're angry and mad.
there's sort of
And
a
I think that's what it
family
is.
type relationship there. I don't know. And maybe it's because both actresses are really strong, but like I kind of get it and I'm just really interested in it. And like I said, every time the two of them are on screen together, I just think it's a great scene.
I say it's be like they're showing in media nowadays, it's generational trauma.
Yeah.
That's the theme of the week, if you didn't
Mhm.
know.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to look that one up.
If you've ever seen Encanto, that's like the main thing Mary's talking about.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
Same with Red.
Okay. Interesting. I haven't watched either of those, so.
Who do we got next?
We have themes. Time to talk about themes.
I'll let somebody else go first this week. I
All
always
right.
go first on theme.
All right. I'll start. Because I feel like I've mentioned this already. I think the strongest theme is about destiny and about the need for there to be something more than just destiny in order to sort of bring it about. And I like that theme quite a bit from the story, because I think that whenever the idea of destiny comes up, you then have the question like, is something outside of someone's choice? Is it going to happen no matter what anybody does? That question of like free will. And so that bit about, well, there needs to be something more, there needs to be something else that will bring it about. And that's pretty explicit in the stories. Like I think that's very clearly articulated, and I like that. And it's, as I said, not as strong here. Destiny is definitely still there as a theme,
That's what they focused
and
on.
but I think it was missing that emphasis on the need for there to be something more, and so I missed that in the episode. On the other hand, we did get a little bit more exploration of the theme of legacy. And like I said, I thought that was very well done. So that was kind of my two big takeaways on theme in this episode.
The only one I really cared about in this episode was Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And Geralt, as soon as Lost Prize got brought up, he like almost ran from that idea.
Right, he did, yeah.
And then when he gets to the farm and he's like, oh shit, that's Ciri. he kind of like, oh crap, destiny's real.
Yeah, and that's where it's interesting, right? Like, because like the whole time he's like, I don't believe in it. I don't, and so then why? Well, why at the end does he just says like, people bound by destiny will always find each other, and that is a line from earlier in the episode. Like he just believes in it because she shows up, I guess, but like it would have been reinforced with some of the stuff that was not in this episode.
It's like Destiny is Bill Engvall saying, "Here's your sign."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have that written down on my notes as faith and lack of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the back and forth of everybody else. I mean, repeatedly in the story, everybody he talks to believes in destiny.
Yeah.
Except him.
Right.
And that's one of the few things they talk about in every story, in every chapter of the story, I should say.
Right. So why doesn't he have that? Why does he not believe in it when other people do?
Yeah. And they don't address that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That was on my list, but I just had it written down different.
Yeah.
Any others, Max?
I say within the book and in the show, why does he not believe in others do? To me, it's kind of like with the monster thing. A lot of people either don't believe monsters are real, or other various things. Like he sees more of the reality, what's actually going on, that other people don't. Like with curses, he knows the truth behind a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
That people just want to kill the thing that's cursed instead of get the curse out.
Yeah.
And so he sees a lot of destiny in that, like people saying, just kill the cursed creature instead of curing it, as it's their destiny to be murdered. So he sees a lot of destiny as not being real. It's all just, what do you call it? Kind of like luck. It's not real.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Until he gets something that's so like he can't disprove it.
Yeah, I can
like winning Syrian lost prize twice.
Yeah. Right. I mean, right. And that's where, again, I wish they had emphasized a little bit more in the episode, because when that happens, like, yeah, that's going to make a believer out of someone. Like the same person is your child's surprise in two different instances. Like, okay, the universe is trying to tell you something here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that guy Andre is.
Yeah, we don't,
It's kind of like when you go on vacation and you're like, why the hell's my neighbor here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or in this case, Dandelion.
Yeah, right. That guy keeps showing up everywhere. Maybe they're bound by destiny. Let's be honest.
I think so too. I do think so.
He's Siri's uncle, clearly.
He is technically a noble.
Is he?
In the wiki, if you look him up on the wiki, you'll see that he's got you'll see his real name that's used once in the entire series, I think. And he's like a minor noble, not like a baron or something, but like something really minor, just some minor lordling. And a graduate of Oxford University.
Like that.
One university that gets mentioned throughout the series. I mean, you got these mages at Aretusa and Banard, but then you get scholars, and everybody else that just wants an academic education at Oxenford. I don't even know where Oxenford is on the map.
No, not abuse me though.
It's a funny name though.
Yeah.
So I think them leaving out a lot of scenes, like I said earlier, was to a detriment for this episode, because leaving out the scenes left out addressing the themes. Sure, they kept nailing home destiny, but like I mentioned, body autonomy got left off. And that would have applied last week as well. That conversation with
I think they maybe could have put that in last week's episode. I don't think it needed to be in this episode, but maybe last week. Yeah.
If they had kept the Beltane celebration.
Yeah, but I would have cut out that part anyway.
You would have cut that out?
Yeah.
And see, you also though would have had all the time Jennifer saying, no, I don't want you, and Geralt being, okay, cool with it. I mean, he's still thinking about it in his head, going by the text, but he's not, pushing her, pressuring her in any way, and it's entirely her decision to change her mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, and
So,
there's that, and there's
yeah,
there's
that
even
short story.
the girl or young woman that, like, you know, seems like she's interested in Geralt, and he's like, yeah, why not? And then she like sees his eyes, and she's like, nope. And then he's like, okay, nope, I'm backing off because like you're clearly not interested anymore. So I mean, it's in there, but like I
And
wouldn't have
see,
put in that much of that. Like I think the essential thing from that part of the story was just that little conversation they have about, you know, we're destined for each other, but
yeah,
we're not going to work out, you know, the need for something more, that we need to, you know, go our separate ways or we'll hurt each other. I mean, that part of the conversation was the essential piece of that. Like the rest of it is interesting, but like it was going to have to go. It wasn't going to make it into this episode. So I think that theme would not have fit in this episode, but it maybe could
it
have
would have
been,
fit last week if they
maybe
kept
could have come
if
in
that.
into last week. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the Beltane happens before he visits Calanthe, if I remember correctly. So it would have fit
Mm,
better last week.
yeah.
I think Calanthe's right after Beltane.
Well, is it?
I think
I don't know.
so.
Maybe. Anyway, either way, like it came from a scene with Calanthe, and he had a scene with Calanthe in last week's episode. So, you know, just
Yeah.
you could put it in there. But
You know, from a cynical point of view on Netflix, like they may not even want to include body autonomy because it might be a controversial opinion in America.
eh,
Whereas consent is something that's more important. And obviously Yennefer doesn't really care about that half the time.
Yeah, and consent ties right into body autonomy.
Yep.
That is
yeah,
a different.
I get what you're saying though.
semantics.
The part about Geralt's mother having a choice, like she could have taken a potion or whatever it was, that
Yep.
like they
Yeah,
make it
or a
clear that
simple
she,
spell.
a spell, or yeah, that
Yep.
like she could have ended her pregnancy very easily if she had chosen
Yep.
to, and both Geralt and Calanthe agree that that's absolutely her right to do. So I mean, it
Yep.
establishes in this world that that's like not a, apparently not a controversial opinion or hard to
Yep.
obtain. An
It's like
abortion.
that part of it's where I say, you know, being a cynic on Netflix, they might have avoided that whole thing
Yeah,
just to
maybe.
that
not
might be.
deal with that.
I mean, I suppose I mean, I don't know, but I have
Yeah.
to think that probably people who are like that up in arms about that are probably already like not interested in this show, but I don't know, maybe not.
Considering all the book folks out there,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
can't
we
actually.
know they're
Yeah.
there with
Yeah.
The Witcher, so
Nah, that's true. But I mean, I'm just saying they're already mad about other
Yep.
stuff anyway.
Oh,
So
yeah.
whatever.
But it's like, you know, pick your battles with controversy. And I don't know if like maybe that was one reason they didn't include it.
I mean, it's not an essential part of the
Yeah.
story. Like it, I mean,
No.
it's clear that the author put it in there because that is probably his point of view. And he's like, all right, well, let's just make it clear that these characters just accept this. Like this is part of, this is like a fact of the world, which it is relevant in the sense of the world building, right? Like when you have, you know, people choosing to, you know, let their kids go off and be child surprise or get their kids go off and become witchers or whatever, that they could have chosen to not have a child if they wanted to, is relevant for the world building. But otherwise, I don't know.
I think it's one of the things that Sapkowski was doing. He's pretty political in a number of different ways throughout the series, especially on more social issues.
Yeah.
You know, and coming from a guy who lives in freaking conservative country, you know, where it just, I think he stands out, and yet he's the most popular fantasy author there, which I think is great. You know, maybe
Yeah.
some of what he wrote will help start changing some minds and people chill out and, you know, stop being sexist pigs, like I hear it is there. So,
Well, you know, like even on that front, it's like you'd hope that happens, but sometimes it just goes over everybody's heads.
and that's the thing with the
Yeah,
series.
that could easily go over someone's head if they weren't, you know, I don't know, I could see that too.
That's why they should have included an extra scene going on about body autonomy or consent, just to hit it home harder, because that's the stuff that goes over too many guys' heads and some
Yeah.
women's heads.
Yeah.
You know, I already discussed, them losing, the faith and lack of faith, whether or not he believes in destiny or anything like that. But they also kind of lost the scene where he decides to not go to Sintra and then cross the Uruga, which led him to finding Siri.
Hmm.
If he hadn't crossed the Uruga, if he'd gone back to Sintra, it would have been a lot longer until he found her. And so we
Yeah.
lost that cusp event with
Yeah.
the dandelion dream, sequence left out.
Yeah. I mean, that I don't think was essential, but
No, it maybe not essential, but it was stuff that got lost, and it was themes that were there, in the short story that they didn't do a good job translating to screen. That's kind of what the question is. I've never really approached it entirely this way, but some of these should have been included.
yeah, I mean, some of it, like I said, I get why some of this was left out, and I think it was mostly fine. But I think that there are some. I mean, I agree on some bits. I think that they should have included some more to get those themes there a little bit more strongly.
I was happy they kept the Vicenna scene at least.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Well,
think
that
that's
was
an
an
important
interesting
one.
change too. That I forgot to mention before that, like in the short story, it's like no, he really saw her, and it's in the show. It seems like no, he didn't. That was just a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Um,
know. I'm fine with that change. Like,
it doesn't bother me.
it
The
doesn't
only
bother me. I don't like. It's not like I'm like, oh yay, I'm glad they did that. But also, it doesn't bother me. So it was just an
Henry
interesting.
Cavill made an acting choice, or the director gave him a directions that I'm not too fond of. I'm not happy how quickly he got antagonistic with her. He
Yeah,
gets antagonistic with her tone wise sooner than he does in the books. Because
it's
when
a
he
short
starts,
scene. So
Yeah.
yeah.
when he starts asking her, when he realizes who she is, and he asks her, "What do you think of my eyes?" He says it calmly. The word calmly is actually used in the sentence or paragraph where he says that. Here, she's like my eyes. It's like, geez, who are you, Batman?
Yeah. Well,
Grumpy?
kind of.
No, he's
He's
Superman.
Superman. He's
Yeah.
Superman. That's why I said Batman, ironically. Not to mention the fact Batman always talks like this.
Exactly. Yeah, the voice is more Batman-like for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
I
didn't
mean,
like that acting choice.
it was a much shorter scene, and that makes it tough because in the book it's a longer scene, and there you can have more nuance and more like development to that dynamic, and yeah, it's a little bit more. It was a little bit more rushed in the show.
No, one of the parts about how I'm not saying it calmly, more anger in his voice. That kind of goes back several episodes when he lashed out at Dandelion. It kind of
Yeah,
shows that underbelly of rage he has is kind of building up under the surface.
yeah. So I didn't like
At least
that
in the
either.
show.
Yeah, no, he
Like he
does. Yeah.
clearly has it even in the books, just that this
Mhm.
little bit of rage there, but he doesn't let it outward.
No,
But in the show, they're making it more outward
that's true. I
because
mean,
we
it's a
don't
good
have his
point.
thoughts.
It's a good point.
Yeah. We do get thoughts in the book. So
And her scene where we're not sure if it's real or a dream. It's like I still don't know in the show if it's real or a dream because the way the magic works, it could have been both.
Yeah, I think
She
it's supposed to be a dream in the show, but I hear you. It's not like, I mean, I don't know.
like he could have healed him, and the other guy would never have known it.
Possibly. Yeah, that's possible, I suppose. But she does say, I was just a dream. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted him to think that.
yeah,
Interesting.
I'm not sure if she was there or not. So in the show, I mean, she was definitely there in the book because he
Yeah.
talked to
Yes.
Yerga the next day, and
Yeah, he talks about her. So yeah, that it was real.
and even how it left medicine. That's one of my favorite chapters in the short story. I mean, this is my favorite short story between the first two books. I've said that before, but this chapter and the chapter on Sodden Hill are my two favorite chapters.
Well, as I say, for me, mine was the Satyr one, the Changeling one that we never got, and the end of this chapter.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you, Glenn. I think that this probably is my favorite short story. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It's really good.
Yeah.
I still wish we got that Changeling one.
Yeah. I'm just not happy with the way they've handled Changeling so far, but it doesn't wreck anything. It's just not a problem at all. But
yeah,
Changeling, if we encounter one later, might not be as much of a surprise when it happens.
Yeah, it does kind of make that whole the possibility of including that doesn't seem as interesting given the changes in the show. Yeah.
But
okay,
I think I'm done with that. Yep, I've got everything covered.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about our ratings for accuracy to the source material, faithfulness to the source material.
I'll say 6.5. It was there. It was more than 50%, accurate. Wasn't super accurate. Like I said, that there's stuff missing that I wish had been there. There were changes that they made that I don't necessarily agree with. So, even the changes I do like, are still accumulate on this, this score. So, yeah, I say 6.5.
Okay, I was gonna say 6. I'll go with 6.
Do 6.4 just to mess with Glenn.
Thank you.
Okay.
6.4.
Okay.
That works.
You guys with your points, whatever.
It's fun. Like I said, I go by percentile and just move the decimal over.
Yeah, I don't do that.
And 50% is average.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will say it's more faithful than not, but it was pretty different. I don't know. It was pretty different. So, and then overall enjoyment if you had not read the source material.
Maximus?
From when I first saw the show, this particular episode, maybe a 7.
Okay.
The first time I watched it.
And then factoring in the changes from the source material, does that change your rating?
I say 7.5.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay. See, my initial original no reading the book reaction, I just said probably an 8. To be honest, I really liked this episode.
Yeah.
Because it was, Sodden Hill was just enough right there to give it an 8.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, having read the books and looking at the accuracy, I'll have to say a 7. So it drops a full point,
Yeah.
by not being super accurate.
I think mine was exactly as yours, Glenn. Like I would have put it at an 8 before I had read the source material. And I also would drop it a point down to a 7, having seen the changes. And
I did it first.
Because I know. Well, I'm just I'm just saying. I agree with you. That's not always the case, but in this case, I had the same rating. So
That's
and
cool.
for the same reason. So there you have it.
And I rate the short story itself. I'll give it the short story itself a 9.
Yeah, it's very good.
Oh.
Very good. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it looks like we completed another episode, guys.
We did.
Do you have anything, Rebecca?
Nope, that's it for me.
Thanks.
Yoda would probably give it like an 8.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you actually have Yoda there while you record, while I only show Yoda on the screen during the playback.
How would you rate the series as a whole? Episodes 1 through 8.
Just in terms of accuracy,
Right,
or
I'd
Just-
say in accuracy and then as like total enjoyment with everything.
I'll go 7.5
inaccuracy.
for the season as a whole.
What about for accuracy?
Oh, for accuracy?
Yeah.
Probably a 6.5. In my opinion.
So
Okay.
for accuracy, I'd give it like a 5.
Mhm.
And then for total enjoyment, probably about that 7.5.
Okay.
Okay. You guys with your halves, I'm just like, all right, accuracy is like a 6, and enjoyment, yeah. I mean, I could see 7.5, but I probably would have said 7 because I just don't do these half points.
We fine tune it.
I look at it like it's not quite an 8.
Yeah, it's not quite
it's-
an 8. Yeah.
Like one way to look at like Breaking Bad.
What about
Like
Breaking Bad?
every episode's like average an 8,
Yeah.
and there's some 9s and 10s. Same with like The Wire, like average like
Wire is
8.5
just
to
9
9.
and 10.
Yeah,
Wire is 9 and 10s all the way
Okay, I've
through.
not seen The Wire.
Greatest show
And-
ever on television. No joke.
there's a lot of shows like the averages are like solidly awesome,
Mhm.
but then there's some like it's just above average. It's not like your run of the mill CSI episode, which is just it's watchable. It's
Never
6.
seen CSI either.
Yeah, CSI is not that good.
It's not horrible. It's just
Okay, so-
it is what it is.
Breaking Bad is a very good show, but I don't want to watch it again ever.
Well, it looks like we got a little distracted, guys.
What?
We can cut
Not
that
sure how
out.
much I'll leave in from the editing with
Just
when I
cut that
edit,
out.
but you might get some of that. Thank you for joining us and watching our show tonight. Please leave a like and
comment.
give us some comments. Start some discussion. We will be back in 2 weeks to cover season 2, episode 1, entitled Grain of Truth. And I believe the short story it's based on is entitled A Grain of Truth. It's going to be a little bit of a controversial topic on that one
True.
because of some things. So we'll see you then. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to be awesome.